Have you ever felt like you have nothing to offer? In this week's episode of the Be More podcast, we are talking all about serving. If we want to be more like Jesus, if we want to follow the Lord more, we need to be servant-minded so that the people around us can get to know who Jesus is too. We're talking about all of that and so much more in this week's episode. Let's get right into it. Hey, what is the nicest thing somebody has ever done for you? What is a moment that you can remember where you went, man, I felt very loved in this moment. I feel like hopefully that happens to us on a somewhat regular level. Do you guys have anything off the top of your head that you can think of that's like, hey, I remember specifically this moment?
Yeah, I remember. This one leaks a little bit into next week, but I remember this moment. We had a car, a little bit older. We were on our way back from going Christmas tree shopping. We'd gone to a Christmas tree farm, had the Christmas tree on top of our roof. We're driving back, and the car started smoking, which you don't have to be a mechanic to know that's generally a bad sign. And so we pulled off into a lot, had somebody come pick us up. That was super helpful, and had been talking to some people at church just about how, we were like, it was going to be a really expensive fix. It was going to take a lot of time. It's just really inconvenient. And I wasn't necessarily like, I don't know, I was complaining just because it was an irritating situation. Yeah. But when we went to go pick up the car, I was like, all right, how much do we owe you? And the guy goes, it's already been paid for. I was like, what do you mean? Like, yeah, somebody paid for it. I was like, do you know who? He's like, I was told I'm not allowed to tell you. So I still don't know to this day. It was like a multiple $100 bill that just was taken care of for us.
Look at that.
And then our car ran for a long time after that.
Do you still have that car now?
No.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately. Well, but it lasted a few more years.
Yeah, so. That's good. Can you think of anything?
Oh, man. I feel like I've had so many moments where people have just been uber kind. A lot of times service things are seen in generosity, and you mentioned that we're kind of bleeding into what we're going to be talking about this upcoming week. But one moment is kind of sticking out right now, partially because celebrating my daughter, my middle daughter, is 9 today.
No way!
Happy birthday, Eden! I love you. So if Aaron and I, we have two that are 4 months apart. I'll let you figure that one out. So they're basically twins, and diapers were kind of like a thing that you had a lot of and needed a lot of, and the church that I was serving at in Indiana. They got together and all the small groups picked a certain size, and I kid you not, we did not buy diapers at all the entire time.
Dude,
that's awesome.
That's actually such a cool way to do that too, with the small groups.
So
you should note that down. Small.
It was just a really practical thing. We had
that's great.
We were literally we lived in an old house built in the 1800s, and we had these kind of random closets everywhere, and we had closets that were just filled to the brim with diapers. People were like, "What's it? Whoa, you got a lot of diapers."
We do that now. Every room. No joke, you go into our house, every room in some nook or cranny has a small basket with a load of diapers in it. So if we ever need to change a diaper, we just there's one right here. Boom.
That's the way.
So
that is the way.
I'll give a recent one. It happened this morning, and it's not as dramatic maybe as some of these, but they actually go to our church, the Hogans. Tori Hogan, Daniel Hogan, shout out to you guys. So Tori Hogan ran into my wife at the bins, if you guys know what the bins are.
Boy.
The Goodwill bins. If you've never been to the Goodwill bins and you're listening, you gotta go. It's pretty great.
It's a little wild.
It can get a little wild, but it's worth. If you're into thrifting, you can find some gems. So Tori Hogan and my wife were thrifting together, and they were like, "Do your husbands like doing this?" And my wife was like, "Andrew was not about it until he found an entire load of LL Bean shirts." Love LL Bean as a brand, but I never want to pay full price for LL Bean because it's expensive. But you can get them cheap. And Tori goes, I have a jacket that I thrifted here that is an LL Bean jacket that Daniel does not like to wear. He can have it if he wants. And I was like, are you serious? And she was like, a little backstory. You're getting a peek into my personal life. I've always wanted to own an LL Bean jacket. I don't want to pay for an LL Bean jacket, especially because I live in Florida. So this morning she came and dropped off this really nice, practically brand new LL Bean jacket for me. And I was like, I'm so grateful for this.
That's all he needs is a jacket.
That's all I need is a jacket. I was like, will I wear this 4 times in Florida? Probably.
Nah, you're going to be that little gray-haired old man sitting in the corner I'm cold.
Coastal grandpa. My theme for my life going forward is coastal grandpa.
It's 90 degrees out, Andrew's sitting in his jacket over in the corner.
You'll see me here in like 40 years. I'll be like, who's that guy? Oh, he's been here since the dawn of time. It's fine.
Still great.
I would
That's
guess,
my vibe.
I would guess that the reality is everybody has had multiple moments where somebody has served them, blessed them, and maybe it is a lot of times there's something attached to that, some sort of generous moment too. But maybe the generosity isn't a thing or a possession. It's time or it's
talent.
Talent, like knowing how to fix the vehicle.
Yeah.
Those types of things. And man, the act of service is such a huge deal. Tyler preached on that Sunday, crushed it. We were reminded that's a part of the overflow. That's what it means to belong.
Yep.
To something bigger than ourselves, is that we all have been given certain gifts and talents, and we're given those to serve, and ultimately use them for the glory of God. And man, dude, first off, I know you don't like the limelight. If we have the ability, put a nice little spotlight on Tyler right now.
That's ridiculous. Don't do that.
Yeah, there you go. Reminds me of our little Christmas thing.
It does. That was so
good. Man, you preach a powerful message, some really practical, relatable truths to help us to know what it means to serve, and it's super thankful for you.
Yeah, and if you're just joining us, maybe this is the first time you're hearing this podcast, or you missed last week. We're out of our book series in Genesis here at Central Christian in Ocala. We're doing kind of on our discipleship track is something that we've kind of formulated this year. That we're kind of, hey, our whole goal here at Central is to be more like Jesus. Hey, how do we do that? Let's get super practical. Here's 4 kind of key terms that we believe will help us to become more like Jesus as we become a disciple of him. Believe, belong, become, bless, all those things.
You said it wrong.
I said it wrong. I'm so sorry.
Become, belong, bless. And inside of each
habit.
of those then are certain habits that would help mark those things. Look, the reality is we're not trying to create a checklist, although it could look like that. We recognize it's a lifestyle, and it's very cyclical. It's continual. We start in a certain spot, and we continue to seek the Lord with each and every. Like, when do you stop repenting?
Yes. Yep.
Hopefully never, because then,
When do you stop serving? When do you stop giving? You don't. Like, this is something that continually marks our life. And, belief, as we began, right? It's more than just a statement we say. It's a movement that we make. And belief is this continual process that'll happen and incorporate into these 4 other beats, or these 3 other beats as well. And so, it's been a great study. I encourage you, if you go download our app, you can.
Yeah. Are those booklets that we have available on the app?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. So we have like a cool booklet that's gone along. with each series.
We've got a website page on our website that has everything we've covered so far through the discipleship track, all the booklets, everything that you need to get caught up and learn what it means to follow Jesus.
I love that. So as you were going through and prepping for the sermon, was there anything that stuck out to you that you're like, man, obviously I think we talked about this a little bit. Some of these are very just like practical, like no nonsense. Like, hey, we just got to do this thing. But
I started the sermon talking about like, hey, let the story hit you like it's hitting you with fresh eyes, and I really think that this did this for me this go around.
What story is this? Just
good call. The story of Jesus washing his disciples' feet.
John 13. Verses 1 through 17.
Very famous story. All of us, if you've been in church for longer than a year, you probably heard a sermon on this. Frequently preached. We know the points out of it, and so it's really easy to let stories that are familiar to us kind of just feel like white noise, And I was just really moved by this. The 2 points that actually have really stuck with me over the long haul were probably the first and the last. All right, so Jesus starts with love. That's how the whole story starts. Is he loved his disciples to the end. And just that reminder that that's how service starts. It's really easy for it to, like as Evan said, let these things become a checklist. And you can do the right things, but if you do them for the wrong reasons, then I think that they don't have the same effect in our lives. And so it's that helpful reminder. You'll hear sometimes in people who are trying to help you follow Jesus better, it's not about behavior modification, it's about heart transformation. Jesus works from the inside out, not the outside in. And so just reminding myself that at the end of the day, this is about seeing people and loving them, and loving them out of the overflow of which God loves me and I love him. That's the first relationship. If you've heard this before, the first commandment is love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And the second commandment is like it, love your neighbor as yourself, right? Yeah. That's literally what this is it's just love God, and out of the overflow of that, you're going to love other people, and if you love other people, you'll serve them. And then the last point being, we're called to serve people who don't deserve it. Jesus washes Judas's feet, the man who's going to betray him in a few hours. And I could get sappy and emotional talking about that one for a while. But those were the two things that just they've hit me, and I could spend hours talking about both those points because Lord's been working on me in those areas, Yeah.
Yeah, I think you did a fabulous job too, setting the scene. If you were here Sunday, you heard this, but I think it's good to recap it. As Jesus and his disciples are coming into this room, it would have been very common. You likened it to slipping your shoes off in a culture today, but in that day and age, right? They were wearing sandals. I think you said they were wearing Birkenstocks before they were cool.
Yeah.
They were wearing sandals, and on the road was obviously a lot of dust and dirt, probably some material from some animals that come out of the backside of them. And
put that one together.
Lots of, their feet are filthy. And a part of eating is, and the table was a big deal in that culture, and sitting around the table and spending time. And it wasn't the table like we're sitting at now. It's probably a table where they actually more lounged at it, laid down, sat on the ground. I'm thinking chopsticks and Chinese table a little
legitimate.
Bit for those who want to kind of liken it, but they're kind of lounged around that table, and so truth be told, too, their feet would have been in each other's faces.
That's real.
So, because they would have usually laid to the side or had their feet kicked out, they weren't necessarily feet under the table the way we think of it. At least that's what most people believe. And so here they are with their feet they're filthy and dirty. And it would have been common for the house guest or host to have somebody there that would have washed their feet. Most likely a servant of some sort that was going to help serve the meal later. And they would have started by serving them by washing their feet. And here's Jesus. And he goes, hey, takes his outer garment off, wraps a towel around his waist, and begins to wash their feet. And something I love about the story is sometimes we read scripture and, I can read this passage in a minute. I'm like, yeah, wow, that's cool. Jesus washed the disciples' feet. But you've got to remember, there's 12 disciples. Yeah. And it wasn't like, he had the garden hose out and was like, psh, wiping off their feet real quick, like, hey, we're good to go. Go get in there and sit down at the table. We're having a meal. This wasn't a fast process. It was probably very slow. And so the guys waited and then sat down at the table and waited. And he washes every single one of their feet. And as you mentioned, there at the end, even Judas, those who don't deserve it, which reality is none of them deserved it.
Yep.
And that's a powerful moment. I think it's also really cool to understand, too. John makes sure to record that for us in his gospel account, specifically the moment of Judas's feet being washed. And I think he's teaching us in this story that this is how Jesus served. He served those who would eventually turn their back on him. And so that means what? Well, it means he serves us because we've turned our back on him as well. There's so many little jewels in this story that you're like, oh my goodness, this is a powerful moment. But just the length of time that washing would have taken to me is that had to have been one of those benchmark moments when those guys continued the ministry work. They're after everybody except for Judas. When they continued that ministry work, there had to have been moments where they served others and they recalled being served by the King of Kings.
Amen.
Yeah.
I think too, and I'll just say this, and maybe this is a wrong generalization, but I also think that in a lot of instances, God will call us or move us to serve in areas that more often than not are uncomfortable or are with people that we may feel don't deserve it. Do you know what I mean? I can think of specific examples in my life, even my wife's life, seeing her, feel like she's been put in these situations with people where she's like,
oh, I thought you were going another way with that.
Oh,
I was like,
in a good way or a bad way?
I thought you were gonna be like, oh, I serve my wife.
No. Hard
Lord stretches me every day.
Stretches me every day. No. That would have been rough. Wow.
I think
Let me just air that out
my
here.
dad would have said, I'm in the doghouse.
I'm in the doghouse. Yeah.
Pray for Megan and Andrew.
Yeah, pray for us. We could use that anyways. It's fine.
Sorry. I just,
That's great, though. I'm glad that you clarified that because I just would have kept going like nobody's business. No, like, I can think of specific times where, like, she's been, like, she used to lead a small group with a bunch of girls in middle and high school for many years. And I remember she would get kids in that group and she'd be like, this kid is so hard. Like they just, I just feel like they don't listen to me. They have no context of like, personalities are different. There's so many different things. But she's like, at the end of the day, I felt like I was like in that place to like love these kids and to like serve them. And like it was hard, but the amount of moments that she would have with those kids, where it's like, oh my gosh, this is why, I was here to do this, to be in this specific moment, in this specific situation with that kid.
Well, we talked about this, kind of what direction to go with this message as we were planning and thinking through the series. Obviously, if you just want to talk about what the scripture has to say about serving, you pick your passage, right? Like just open up,
close your eyes.
There's 100 directions you could take with that, and a lot of times what we'll do is we'll talk about spiritual gifts and what are the giftings the Lord's put on you, what are the things that you're passionate about the Lord has given you, and that's where you should serve. And listen, there's truth to that. That's scriptural. That's good. Sure. We intentionally didn't go that direction with this sermon, though, because sometimes I think we've become so focused on things like, where am I gifted? Where am I talented? That it becomes like, well, I'm not going to do those things that I'm not gifted and talented in because I'm only supposed to do the things I care about. And the reality is, man, nobody's got the spiritual gift of washing feet.
Yes.
That's not a spiritual gift God's handing out. It's just a job that needs to get done, and the Lord needs servant-hearted people to go do those things. And so sometimes you need to be willing to be inconvenienced for the sake of others. Like, I don't know how else to say it other than followers of Jesus, you got to be willing to be inconvenienced for the good of those around you.
Yeah.
That's part
Think
of
about
it.
the amount of times that Jesus was inconvenienced on behalf of other people. Like
And oftentimes, even all the things that we have just mentioned, when you ask what's one of the moments that we've been served, I mean, I suppose you could argue like there was a guy who had the talent and skill set to fix that car of yours, but. Sure. And sometimes there are those specific things that we do have a gift or talent towards, but a lot of times it's just like, no, we're generous with something. Yeah. We sat down and spent time. They listened to me. They stopped what they were doing so that they could help me in what I was doing. Yeah. And it's not so much the actual gift or the thing that's being. It's the heart of which that happens with.
Yeah. Well, I think too, we think about maybe service as like this like grandiose, like big moment that we like go out and we like sacrifice our entire month to like, I don't know. Like, but in reality, it's, hey, you're in line for lunch at work and you let this person go in front of you. Like, I don't know. Like, just like something little, like, I feel like those like little moments where like, you're just like, you were just saying, you're just listening to a friend.
It's a really changeable, like,
I don't know.
Like, listen, going on a missions trip is service, but that is not the only place. And sometimes we get locked into the big ideals, and service is changing your kid's diaper when you're exhausted because your wife is also exhausted and it needs to get done. Mm-hmm. It's sweeping up the kitchen when you don't want to. It's paying for the person's meal behind you. Yep. The single mom who's struggling and can't afford her groceries and her card gets declined, and you say, I'm going to go ahead and take care of it. Like, there's 1,000 normal, everyday ways to serve. And that really was kind of the heart behind this message is, don't get me wrong, do the big, grandiose things. Yeah. But if that's all it is, then we've missed the heart behind what it is.
Right, I think sometimes also we look at the grandiose things then become like this more outward, like way out in, I went out to the local mission. I went on a mission trip. I spent time and, helped out this big community effort, and I served in that. And sometimes the greatest acts of service are done in the mundane, as Jesus washed the feet. Mm-hmm. It might be that extra little thing that you did for your bride. It might be that thing that, you saw that the neighbor's lawnmower broke down and you went, look, man, at least I'll give them another week to figure out how to get that thing fixed. I'm knocking out their grass without them asking me,
Yeah.
Yep.
It's these little things that become big things. And that speaks to the heart of what God is doing in us, right? Because those things are I think those things are often motivated with the Spirit of God in us. We see those things more easily. I know I do. When I am living obediently with the work of the Holy Spirit in me, I'm more apt to see those moments, see those opportunities where I'm go, hey, I can go serve this person. That'd be a huge help to them. They would be loved by that. And even in that too. And God will be worshiped through that because he just put that on my heart. I need to go do that.
So you're following that. And just let me ask you this. Why do you think people have such a hard time serving other people? Why don't they do it? Why isn't, okay, if we want to get real theoretical, or not theoretical, real practical, let's talk about this in the context of the church space. How many people do you say are in our Sunday services on a Sunday? Adults.
Adults, we're right around 800 adults.
So if we as followers, if we say, hey, all 800 of these people follow Jesus, we would say, hey, they're all called to serve. Why are all 800 of them not serving somewhere? If they aren't, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not trying to specifically call out Central. I'm just,
No.
You can take this and apply it to any church.
Yep.
Well, a lot of times I don't feel that I have anything to offer.
Okay.
Is one thing. I don't have the time in my schedule. Is another one. And I think both those things are just a lie, quite honestly. Yeah, you do have something to offer. Every single one of us has something to offer. From a time standpoint, what's it? The enemy can't make you sinful; he'll make you busy. Right? That's C.S. Lewis, I believe, right?
Corey Ten Boom? I don't know. Somebody.
Yeah,
Lots of
you're
people.
right.
Yeah.
You're right. It's Corey Ten Boom. Either way, right? Like we wear busyness like a badge of honor.
Yeah.
I'm busy. And that means I must be doing something right. And I'm like, I don't know. Maybe you're busy and you're doing something wrong. Maybe you're saying yes to all the wrong things and you need to start saying yes to the right things. And a part of the right things can be rest. We've talked about that plenty of times here on the podcast. Part of the right things is saying no to some good things out there so you can say yes to some things here. And that's, there's a spiritual battle going on for these things. I think some of us are allowing the enemy to win the spiritual battle in our lives on service. And we are making excuses for why we can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, let's take it out of the realm of the church and move it into the realm of the household, man. I don't know how many times I've heard stories of guys who were so busy serving the world out there that they neglected their own home.
Yeah.
And the reality is, man, look, there is 1,000 good things that you could do with your day. Sometimes you got to say no to the good things so you can say yes to the great things, and that's loving the people who are in your community, loving the people who are in your vicinity. You gotta, you can't love your community to the detriment of your family. That's getting your priorities out of order. And so sometimes it's sitting down and taking an inventory of priorities and just figuring out, hey man, what am I prioritizing in my life? And is that what I actually want my priorities to look like? Do it. If you want to get super practical, do a time audit. Go figure out what are the things that I'm putting my time towards. And then look and go, is that actually what
worth it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I look at this as one of the areas, some people are called to this. Some people naturally have a really outgoing personality. They have lots of people that look to them for influence, encouragement, support, and they kind of naturally are pretty good at that. They can have a lot of people, but the reality is they have a lot of people, so that means they're a mile wide and an inch deep in their relationship, and we're all limited by just you can't create more time in the day.
Yeah.
There's only 24 hours in the day, and we're all limited to our capacity of how many people we can truly serve with the right heart. I always. For me, one of the people in my life that I see that represents it so well is my wife. She'll tell you really quickly who's her inner circle. Well, it's me and her 4 children.
Yeah.
And that's 5 people. And she's like, they get the lion's share of my energy, my time, my efforts, my service. And I get a lot of people as a pastor, like, man, your kids are so sweet or so kind. And I'm like, man, that's my wife. Obviously I play a part in that, but I'm just so thankful because of the time and investment as a mother that she spends. And there could be people, sometimes, let me let you in on a little secret. Sometimes in ministry, people have expectations of your spouse that are unrealistic. Or there was an old school adage of like the senior pastor's wife was supposed to play the piano or at least be the secretary in the office. Mm-hmm. And that is not my wife.
Lead the women's ministry.
Lead the women's ministry. She is a rock star mom. And as you were preaching on service this week, here's what I love. So I'm sorry, Aaron. You're going to be like so upset that I'm bringing you up right now.
Do it.
She hates to do this. But, she throughout the week, she's solely focused on her kids, but she serves every single Sunday in the nursery here at Central. And
she used to watch the Twins, man.
During our third hour, I walked over after her having listened to Tyler bring a message, and she didn't know. I sat and stood in the window for 10 minutes and just watched my wife love on kids and make sure they are ready to go home to their moms and dads safely, and their parents were hearing the message on service. And that's what service is. And so, dude, wasn't expecting to get all that.
Look at you, man. Yeah.
But, I'm like, we need more people that know. Like, she'll tell you, I don't feel like I have a lot to offer, but she has a whole ton to offer. And for her, it's like totally like, let me stay behind the scenes and serve. But she'll tell you this. I had a season where I had a couple kids, and there were people who held my kids and loved them so I could go worship. Now I get to do that for somebody else. So that's what service is to me. And you did a great job capitalizing and capturing that heart throughout your message. And I'm thankful for that. So it was a good reminder for sure.
Man,
sorry, guys.
Let's go. Well, I think that, again, and that comes down to the fact of like, I don't think, I'll highlight this too, for those of you that are on the other side of this listening, and maybe you've had that thought of like, I don't have much to offer. Like, how much is holding a baby going to help? Or how much is holding a door for somebody going to help? Like, you have no idea the impact that you are having, that it's like a ripple. It really is. It may just feel like you're dropping a little drop of water, but that ripple extends further than you can even see, and your impact and your service. Like, you may just be holding a baby, but you're allowing the baby's parents to go do something that maybe they really needed to hear a message, or maybe they really needed to go and just spend time together in service. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've come to church and sat down in service and gone, this is the only time of the week where I've just been able to sit next to my, you know what I mean? Like, that's not what I'm there for, but it's one of those moments where you just go, praise the Lord. Like, I can be here and enjoy myself. Like, those are things that I think we don't realize, that ripple effect that we have in the consequences of that.
If you,
in a good way.
You pull the curtain back on the world of church. If you in the church specifically, one of the areas that sometimes can be the hardest to staff with volunteers is your children's ministry area. You're constantly saying, hey, we need more folks to serve in here. And that's why? Because those kids are now getting an opportunity to hear a message that's brought down to their level, that they can understand. They learn habits. All of our children's program from birth all the way up to high school mimics our Sunday worship experiences with similar environments of times of worship, where they celebrate communion if they are a believer in Christ, where they take time to understand generosity, where they hear a lesson. But it's brought down to a level that they can understand it for them, so that they walk out having done that. So we're literally building the foundation in those areas. And there are countless acts of service. When you have 200 or so kids regularly signing in and checking in on a Sunday morning, that takes a lot of volunteers. And we have so many great volunteers that have done it sacrificially for so many years. And in doing that, like, they are making an influence. I think we all could say there have been moments where even our own children have mentioned something that or a teacher has told them in class, and how that's helped them to understand the Bible in a better way.
I got two things to say. One right now, I'm going to put Hunter on the spot. Hunter, who taught you Sunday school when you were a kid here? Don Lehman. So Don Lehman is currently on staff.
Yep.
Hunter, how old are you? You're like 30? He'll be 31 in a week and a half, and the person that taught him Bible Sunday school is still here to this day. Like those, like what? And so I'll tell a story about a guy named Alan Hayes. He used to attend here at Central. I think most of you guys know who this is here in this room, but he was a volunteer of ours in the student ministry for a really long time. And I remember having conversations with him. He's an older guy, Alan is, but I say older. I think he's like 55, maybe 60. So even then he was early 50s, but he was like, I just don't feel like I relate to these kids. And I remember he'd say that all the time. And something that I feel so strongly about when it comes to volunteers in the kids ministry and middle and high school ministries is we would always say to them, you may be the only consistent face they see week to week. You are the most consistent presence in their life, and you only see them for 2 or 3 hours a week. That could be true. You have no idea what these kids are going through. You have no idea what their home lives are like. You have no idea what family situations and family dynamics they have. If kids are hopping from one house to the other. I know that because my wife lived it as a kid. She had divorced parents, split houses. She would go from house to house. And you may be the only consistent thing in their life. And all you're doing is just showing up and being there. You know what I mean? And that means so much to some of these kids. Yeah. And so if you're on the other side of it, you're like, I don't know what I could teach a third grade kid about the Lord. It's like, just show up.
Yep.
Sometimes that's all it is, and that consistency is what matters because they're going to, you'll have somebody like Hunter who has all these people in his life that he just remembers. Like, yeah, I think about Beth Gamble, who's here. Like, she leads the clubhouse stuff. Like, I don't even know how old Beth is, but she's up there and she crushes it every weekend. And she's been here since forever, I feel like. So it's consistency.
We have a couple young guys right now that are serving in our children's ministry with our second and third grade students, which happen to be a couple of my kids. And they're 21, 22 years old. And both of the two guys will tell you, they're serving because they saw that represented to them by another man here at the church.
Yes.
And how he served them and discipled them. And they're like, hey, we can now give it back to somebody else. And that's the attitude of service that we're talking about. We have some amazing volunteers. And look, here's the deal. I'm not begging for people to sign up, but I am telling you, you're missing out if you're not using those things. Yeah. And you don't have to be some, genius Bible scholar. We'll give you what you need, resource you with the things you need to serve in the areas that you can serve in here at Central. And it may just be with kids. And it might be one of those things that someday there's a Hunter on the other side of the camera who says, I'm 31 and I remember my Sunday school teacher.
Well, and I think both of these are true, right? So hopefully if you're listening to this and you are having that thought, but what could I possibly offer? You can offer more than you possibly know. And you just need to, reach out.
You need to accept that.
Please, yes, accept it. Jump in, talk to somebody. We'd love to help you get connected if you're here at Central or if you're watching from another church. Go talk to your pastor. He wants to help you get connected. But the other's true too. Some of you might be listening to this and going, kids ministry, I got more gifts to offer that. Maybe, but you're not too good for it. I don't know how else to, I'm sorry if that's harsh, but also, you're not too important to stand and open the door. I was just talking to Hunter and I were talking about some things that we do here at the church, and we just both acknowledge the reality that I think one of the most important things that we do throughout the entire week, and we do a lot of really important things. I think one of the most important things that happens every Sunday morning is as you're walking into church, you watch people genuinely talk and love and greet each other. You'll see some of our pastors, some of our staff. You'll see we have a team that literally that is what they do is they just say, good morning, I'm so glad to see you. And this the number one thing we hear back from people who visited for the first time is I felt like you guys genuinely were glad to see me. And it's because we were. And for like you said, for some people, this is the only place that they walk in every week feeling I just don't know that there's a bigger what a huge impact to make on somebody's life, but to be the one face they see consistently every week.
Let's think about that, what you just said, because that then leads us into these humble acts of service. Here's something that every single one of you can do this week. You're going to be somewhere, gas station, restaurant, at the school, something like that. open the door for the person.
Come on.
Open the door. And look them in the eye and say, hey, how are you? You'll be flabbergasted at the responses you hear.
Yep, absolutely.
And some people will just slide in, but they might give you an eye or like, oh, man, that was nice of them.
Yeah.
And some people are like, thank you so much for opening the door. Open a door, stop and notice, see some things. Don't put your blinders on. See the moments where you can say, I can go serve that person right now. I can help that guy who's looking like he's struggling to get all of his groceries in the back of his car, or is on the side of the road and needs help fixing that flat, whatever else that may be. Like, those moments are a big deal. Obviously, be smart with that. Women, don't stop by yourself in a car and help a random man on the side of the road.
Have some boundaries.
Have some healthy boundaries. But man, just if you look for them, you'll notice them all day long. And they're, like you said, they're oftentimes not these grandiose things. They're just the small mundane things, but they mean the world sometimes to people. So
I think that comes with, you talked about this a little bit earlier. I forget the exact phrasing that you used, but essentially, hey, if I'm living within the spirit, with the spirit of the Lord, and I'm kind of chasing after Him, you start noticing these things, right? More. I think that comes with, not being busy ourselves and hurried, and having that wherewithal to like slow down ourselves in our life. Because if we're just constantly looking for the next thing, going to the next task, trying to get from A to B, whatever it is, in life, we're not gonna notice the people around us and the things that they're going through, or the moments, those opportunities that we have to serve. So I think it is kind of that, you even mentioned it earlier, like, hey, I'm doing this out of the overflow of the love that I've been given.
Well, there's a reality, right? This is a little bit of a different angle than what I talked about in the sermon, but I think of Psalm 23, right? It starts with, the Lord is my shepherd, I don't lack anything. And until you believe that, you're not going to be in a position to serve other people, because you're going to be too busy chasing your own needs that you won't take care of the needs of others. Yeah.
Man, it's so funny. As you talk about that, we have an older man here at our congregation who super, super sweet guy. And he's not able to drive, so he takes the local bus back and forth to places. And sometimes he walks as well. And it's been about a year ago, he sat down with me, and he's telling me a story about this person on the bus. And they needed some help, and they were headed to the Walmart, and he was going to the Walmart too. And they kind of solicited him for some help. And I'm like, oh, man, he's going to tell me that he got by this person. And so he goes on to tell me a story about taking them. They stopped. They got off the bus, stop early before the Walmart because she had said she hadn't eaten anything. And he takes her, this young woman sits down with her at a little Chinese restaurant. They eat lunch. He pays for their lunch, and then they walk together over to the Walmart, and he hands her a $20 bill. And I'm thinking the whole time, like, oh man, because I know he doesn't have a lot of money himself. I know he's not, in a great financial situation. Sure. And I'm like, I got to tell him how to be cautious about these things. And then at the end of the conversation, he said, look, I knew all along that she was just looking for somebody to help her, and I knew she was going to try to take my money from her. But, the Lord had told me she just needed somebody to sit with her that day and to spend time with her. And so I just needed to serve her. And in serving her, I needed to pay for her meal, and I needed to make sure she had the essentials that she needed at Walmart. So I handed her that $20 bill. And I know it may not have made a big difference, but I did what the Lord had called me to do that day. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, I don't need to say anything else. You got it. And I'm like, what an amazing example. Because he wasn't doing it because she deserved it. Right back to that last point we talked about. He was doing it because the Lord said, hey, go serve her. And that day she was blessed with a guy who sat and ate a meal with her and helped her with some practical needs she had at the local Walmart. So
I think too, and this is a conversation that I feel like I hear a lot. You meet people out in the world, and people are always so hesitant, I think, to help maybe somebody that comes up to you at a gas station or like whatever it is. And I understand that there needs to be boundaries for that. And I think the biggest thing that I hear is like, oh, they're going to go buy booze with it, they're going to go buy alcohol with my money that I give them or whatever. And I think there's some practical ways to get around that. If somebody asks me like, hey, do you have money? I say, I don't have money, but I can buy you something. Like if I'm at the Circle K, hey, do you have some money for me? No, but if you want to drink or like whatever, that's a practical way to get around that. But I do think there comes a point in some circumstances where you have to just go, hey, I felt led to help this person. Whatever they do with it, that's not my problem. You know what I mean? And I think there is a part of that where you're not doing it for the status or for whatever, but you're doing it because this is what God has called me to do. I'm supposed to be a generous person. I'm supposed to be a loving person, and there is discernment that goes into that. Don't hear me when I say that, but
we just live. I'm going to try not to soapbox here. We live in a world where that kind of stuff has become so weird and so odd, and we've heard all the warnings, and we know all those things. And listen, we've said that, I'll keep adding the asterisk, healthy boundaries are a thing. That said, we live in a world that is so devoid of servant-hearted people and of service that opening the door for somebody is shocking to people. Legitimately. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when you go to do this, you will have a still small voice in the back of your head that'll say, what you're about to do is weird. Yes, it is. And it should be. Because our world is so messed up that we do not serve others anymore. And when you are the only one in the Walmart stopping to help pay for a lady's grocery, you will feel weird and praise the Lord for it. Yeah. Because you are opening up opportunities for gospel conversation.
What does Peter say? We are like aliens and strangers in
Amen.
This world. Which means we look a little bit odd.
Yeah. And we've had I feel like we've internally had this conversation so much, you can soapbox for sure for years on the idea that this world is going to absolute the dogs, right? Like it really is. And we keep seeing, but I think there's a reality to this. And I think it's something that we as a whole, as a church and as believers in Jesus have seen, like as that divide grows between good and bad, like, hey, these people are doing some crazy stuff. I think the good is a stark contrast even more.
Salt and light, baby.
Yeah, and we have that opportunity, what a time to be able to go, there's something different about that guy. He held my door for me. Yeah. That's the easiest thing in the world, dude.
Well, and that is, right, those are moments where they open, sometimes the smallest act of service opens the door for the biggest conversations. Yeah. Right? And so, you do a small act of service and then suddenly now they ask you a question and you get they saw the light in you, right? Oh, yeah. And now that they're like, whoa, why did you do that? And before you know it, you're having a conversation. I know some of you are like, that scares me. God will give you what you need. Yeah. We just need to be salt in the earth and light in the world around us. And the darker the world becomes, the brighter the light should shine.
Absolutely. I have a challenge for all of you listening this week as we kind of wrap up and close. Just listen. I think you said something earlier.
Do it.
Yeah. Do it. Open someone's door. Think about the ways that think about your daily life. Think about where you go on a daily basis. Think about the people that you see, the places that you're in, and just find the little ways to do something different. Mm-hmm. Whether it's holding a door, whether it's letting somebody go in front of you in line, whether it's paying for, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be every day. Just do it consistently. You know what I mean? And I think that will dramatically change. It won't just change the people around you. It will change you. Yep. Because you will start to have that servant-hearted mindset, which is where God calls us to be in our lives. And we will ultimately become more like Jesus for that. So, hey, if you have any prayer requests, comments, things that you're concerned about, things that you want prayer for, things you have questions about, we're here. We want to be a part of that. We want to help you become more like Jesus. You guys got anything to say to the crowd?
Do it. Do it.
Do it. Do it. Do it.
Do it. We'll see you next week. Have a good one, people. We love you. Yeah. Do it. Do it.